Don't tell him until after. My dad texted right after draining my 4-year mile balance. They thought they were flying business class to Bali on my dime, while my daughter's trip fund hit zero. What they didn't know was I track everything. 21 days before takeoff, I flagged the account. The moment all 14 tickets were frozen, my phone started ringing. I'm 38. I work as a data analyst for a defense contractor, good income, stable, no drama. That's always been my role. My sister Kelsey is 3 years younger, and she has always been the one our parents worry about, talk about, protect. Not because she's fragile, because she's loud about what she needs, and our parents rewarded that volume every single time. Kelsey didn't work full-time. Her husband Troy had decent money but spent freely. Their lifestyle required regular subsidizing, and that subsidizing had a quiet, consistent source: me. Not in ways anyone ever formally asked about. I paid the caterer at Thanksgiving 2 years ago when Kelsey forgot her half of the deposit. I drove 2 hours in the middle of a workday to pick up my dad's prescription because Kelsey had plans. I covered a hotel block for a family cousin's wedding when the original booking fell through and everyone just looked at me. None of it was acknowledged. All of it was expected. I'm not saying I was the only one who gave. I'm saying I was the one they drew from without asking. There's a difference. The miles were different, though. The miles weren't a favor I could write off. I had been building that balance with one specific picture in mind. 3 years ago, Nora came home from school with a project on Japan. She'd drawn a picture crayon, uneven letters, 2 stick figures standing in front of a mountain that could only be Mount Fuji. Her name in careful capital letters in the corner. She held it up and said, "Can we go, Dad? For real?" I said yes. For real. I pinned the drawing to my refrigerator that night. And from then on, I paid attention to the miles balance the way I'd never bothered before. I drafted the itinerary: 8 days, Tokyo to Kyoto by bullet train, a ryokan. The Team Lab Planets exhibit Nora had bookmarked on my phone after a YouTube video. She'd even picked out the conveyor belt sushi restaurant she wanted to go to on the first night and had the address saved. She called it the Japan Dream Fund. Every few months she'd ask how close we were, and I'd show her the app. Getting there, kid. By last month, we were there. 340,000 miles. Enough for 2 round-trip business class seats. Spring break, Tokyo. She had already named the sushi restaurant. Ju, 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 ju. The night of that dinner, I opened the airline app in my car before I drove home. 0 miles. I sat with that for a second, thinking the app had glitched. I pulled up the transaction history. 1 redemption. Processed 7 weeks ago. 340,000 miles redeemed. 14 tickets, JFK to Denpasar. Business class. Departure, March 18th. I scrolled back through my notification feed. Nothing. No alerts, no confirmation, no email flag. I checked my regular inbox. Nothing there either. And then on instinct, some analyst reflex I can't fully explain, I checked my spam folder. 3 emails. All from the airline. The oldest one. 11 weeks old. Subject line: your contact information has been updated. Someone had changed the notification email address on my account. They'd redirected every alert away from me, and then, 2 weeks after that first change, they went in and redeemed every mile I had. I hadn't done it. I read all 3 emails twice. The timeline was right there. 11 weeks ago, account email changed. 9 weeks ago, account email changed a second time. 7 weeks ago, 340,000 miles gone, 14 business class tickets issued. Each step deliberate. Each step hidden. In 21 days, my family was scheduled to board those flights. Someone had changed my account email 7 weeks before the miles disappeared. Sender, Tenger, 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 Senger, Tenger, Tenger. I texted my dad that night. Kept it short. Dad, I need to know what happened with my miles account. He replied about an hour later. The tone was so light it almost made me laugh. Kelsey found a good deal on Bali. We needed miles. You had plenty just sitting there. We figured you wouldn't mind. It's for the whole family. 2 minutes after that. You weren't even using them. I read that twice. I had been using them every month. By choosing not to spend them, watching the balance build towards something specific. But in my dad's framing, a mile you haven't redeemed yet is a mile that belongs to whoever decides to take it. Then I opened my Visa app. There it was, a charge posted 7 weeks ago. One line item. The airline, $1,862.74. The tax and fuel surcharge on 14 business class tickets. My card had been linked to that account for years. I'd used it once to pay a seat upgrade fee and never bothered to remove it. They redeemed the miles, the taxes auto-charged to my Visa, and nobody called, texted, or mentioned it. Not until my dad brought it up casually over dinner to thank me for my contribution. I called my mom. Linda answered on the second ring. Warm, immediately soft. Dean, honey, you know how much this trip means to everyone. Kelsey has had such a hard year. I mentioned the Visa charge. It's digital points, she said. It's not like we took cash from your wallet. You have a good job. You can earn those miles back. Why are you making this a whole thing? I told her I'd call her later. I sat in my kitchen and thought about the drawing on the refrigerator. Nora had called it the Japan Dream Fund. My mom had just told me I could earn it back, as if 3 years of building toward one specific promise was the kind of thing you restart from zero with no conversation. It wasn't like taking cash from my wallet. Except it was exactly that. Hi mate, 交空, 躲阴刀, 躲阴刀. 2 days later I got a text from my cousin Reed. He's younger, on the edge of the family circle, and he wasn't one of the 14. He'd sent me a screenshot. It was from a family group chat I'd never been added to. Kelsey's message, sent 10 weeks ago. I figured out how to get us all business class. Dean's got like 300K plus miles just sitting there. I'll handle it. My dad's reply, 4 minutes later. Perfect. Don't tell him until after. 10 weeks ago. Before the account email was changed. Before the redemption, this wasn't a moment of bad judgment or crossed wires. This was a timeline with a plan and a deliberate decision to keep me out of it until the tickets were already issued. I read that message again. Don't tell him until after. My father wrote that. About me. About my account. I set the phone down on the counter. That weekend, Nora came for our custody days. I had to tell her something had come up with spring break that we needed to push the trip back. I didn't explain why. Just said the dates weren't going to work the way I thought. She went quiet longer than a 10-year-old usually stays quiet. Is it because of money, Dad? I told her no. Another pause. Is it because of me? I didn't have an answer that was honest without destroying her week. I said we'd reschedule and it would still happen. She nodded and went back to her cereal. The Mount Fuji drawing was still on the refrigerator. I watched her look at it during breakfast. She didn't say anything about it. She just said, "Okay, Dad," and kept eating. That was worse than crying would have been. 난 자우자우초란. I spent 2 evenings doing what I do for a living, mapping what I actually had. The spam emails documented 2 unauthorized credential changes to my account, each with a timestamp. The transaction record showed a single redemption, 340,000 miles, 14 business class tickets. One date. My Visa statement showed the $1,862.74 charge processed the same day. And Reed's screenshot showed a coordinated plan, with explicit instructions to hide it from me until after it was done. I looked up the airline's fraud policy. Unauthorized account access, meaning someone accessing your account without permission, especially when credentials have been altered, triggers a security review. During investigation, associated redemptions can be placed on hold. The standard window, 7 to 14 business days. The trip was in 21 days. I also checked the Visa dispute process. An unauthorized charge one you did not approve can be disputed with your card issuer. I had the timestamps. I had the rerouted notification email. I had the group chat screenshot. I organized everything into one folder. The spam emails, the transaction record, the Visa statement, Reed's screenshot. 4 receipts, clean. The airline's fraud form had a field labeled unauthorized activity. I filled in every box. Confirmation came back within the hour. Case filed. Your case is under review. Redemptions associated with this account may be placed on hold during the investigation period of 7 to 14 business days. 14 days from now. March 11th. The flight left March 18th. I filed the Visa dispute that same night. I hadn't decided yet what Sunday dinner would look like. But I had a case number, and the case number was already doing something. Kelsey called the next morning. No, hello. What did you do? The airline sent us something about our tickets being under review. We have hotels booked. We have 14 people with approved time off. I filed an unauthorized activity report, I said. Someone changed my account credentials without my permission and redeemed miles I didn't authorize. It's a family trip, Dean. You had 340,000 miles just sitting there. I had them. They were for Nora. You just didn't ask. Oh my God. You're blowing up a trip for 14 people because you're upset about points. I gave her the case number. Once. Then I stopped engaging. She said I was destroying the family over digital points. No, Kelsey, I said. I'm protecting my daughter. She hung up. Teared. That night I sat with the actual question on the table. What happened if I dropped the claim? The miles were gone. The $1,862.74 was gone. Nora's spring break trip had no new date, no acknowledgement, no accountability from anyone. And the family learned permanently, with full confirmation that accessing my accounts without asking was acceptable, because I had plenty. Because I could earn it back. Because that's what family does. I thought about what came after that. Not as a catastrophe scenario, just as a pattern reading. If this worked once, cleanly, without consequence, what was next? My savings account also has plenty sitting there doing nothing. My credit line, my emergency fund. I wasn't projecting, I was connecting dots. I opened the Japan itinerary on my phone. 8 days. 2 names. Spring break dates, already blocked. Still sitting there. Still waiting. The trip was now 18 days out. My dad called the following evening. His voice was measured, but I could hear the tightness underneath the voice he uses when he's worried about how something looks. Dean, I got a call from the airline. This is getting embarrassing. You need to drop this. Kelsey worked hard on this trip. 14 people are counting on it. You're going to blow up the whole family vacation over hurt feelings? Dad, I said. Someone changed my account credentials without my permission. My card was charged $1,862.74 without my authorization. That's not hurt feelings. That's unauthorized activity. A pause. Then, you know what? You've always been like this. Always making yourself the victim. I didn't argue. I'll see you Sunday, I said. I hung up. Texted Reed. Be at dinner. He read it and didn't reply. I checked the fraud case status one more time. Still under review. Still on track. Sunday was 3 days away. Ming bada ting. I arrived at my parents' house at 6. Everyone was already there, all 14 of the Bali trip participants, plus some additional family. The table was full. The energy was warm and celebratory in the way that makes you feel slightly sick when you know what you know. Kelsey had printed a color-coded itinerary and was passing it around. Troy was describing the villa pool. Someone had brought a cake. Nobody mentioned the airline. My dad greeted me at the door with a handshake and the slightly nervous smile of a man who thinks he's already handled things. I sat down. I ate. I kept my phone in my jacket pocket, screen locked. About halfway through dinner, my dad tapped his glass. I just want to say this trip is happening because our family pulls together. He looked at me with a warm nod. Dean, we know it cost you some miles, but that's what family does for each other. Murmurs around the table. Kelsey smiled. Troy raised his glass. My mom looked pleased. I set my fork down. Actually, Dad, I need to clear something up. I took out my phone and placed it on the table, screen up, facing the center of the room. That's a fraud report I filed with the airline 11 days ago. Someone accessed my account without my permission, changed my contact information twice, redeemed 340,000 miles for 14 business class tickets, and charged $1,862.74 to my Visa. I didn't authorize any of it. The redemption is currently under hold pending review. The case number is right there if anyone wants it. The room went still. My dad was the first to speak. Dean, you're overreacting. The airline's fraud team doesn't think so. My voice was the same register it had been all night. No edge, no shake. Flat. Kelsey pushed back from her chair. You filed fraud against your own family? Do you hear how insane that sounds? It does sound insane, I said. Because it is. Troy leaned forward, diplomatic. Dean, man, they're just miles. They're not just miles. I looked at him. They were my daughter's trip to Japan. I said it out loud. At that table. In front of all of them. Kelsey went quiet for exactly 1 second. Then, Nora can go to Japan anytime. I looked at her. She asked me if the trip fell through because of her, I said. She sat at my kitchen table and asked me if it was her fault. She's 10 years old. Nobody said anything. Across the table, I saw my aunt, my dad's sister, set her wine glass down very carefully. Reed was looking at the tablecloth. The printed Bali itinerary was still sitting in the center of the table. Nobody was looking at it anymore. My dad's voice was quieter when he spoke again. You're really doing this, Dad. I saved those miles for 3 years. For Nora, someone changed my account, charged my card, planned it 10 weeks in advance, and called it what family does. I picked up my phone and put it in my pocket. It isn't. I hope the fraud team resolves it quickly. I stood up, put on my jacket. I'll let myself out. I walked to the front door. I didn't slam it. I closed it quietly. I didn't look back. Regens and Arst. 9 days later, the airline closed the case. Unauthorized account access confirmed. Redemption reversed. 340,000 miles returned to my account. The $1,862.74 visa dispute resolved in my favor 2 days after that. The 14 tickets were canceled, standard procedure when a fraud reversed redemption involves non-refundable bookings. The trip was 12 days out at that point. Rebooking 14 business class seats to Bali on short notice would have cost well over $20,000 in cash. They didn't rebook. My mom sent one message to the family group chat, which I'd apparently been added back to, without notice. I hope you're happy, Dean. I took a screenshot. I didn't reply. 2 weeks later, I booked 2 business class seats. JFK to Tokyo. First week of April. Spring break. I told Nora over dinner. She went quiet for a moment, the same careful quiet from before, and then she was out of her chair and pointing at the refrigerator. The drawing. Crayon. 2 stick figures. Mount Fuji. Her name in careful capital letters in the corner. We're still going? She asked. We're still going. She wanted to officially call it the Japan Dream Fund trip. I told her that's what it had always been. I'd had it saved under that name in my notes app for 2 years. She ran to go find her list of things she wanted to see. I didn't file that report for revenge. That's not what any of this was. I filed it because some things aren't family resources, because they were built by me, on purpose, for a specific person, toward a specific promise. And because my daughter sat at my kitchen table and asked me if it was her fault. It wasn't. And she was always going to Japan. Arbalkinsis. My Arbalkinsa is the QC block. Tom 101. Estimated word count to 4,150 words. Central injustice clear in the first 15%. Dean's 340,000 miles redeemed without permission for 14 people. $1,862.74 charged to his visa. Nora's Japan trip eliminated. Who was wronged? Who caused it? What was taken, all stated plainly in the hook. Primary lever, authority dramatized. Airline Fraud Department unauthorized activity case, filed with all 4 receipt types. Case confirmation e-mutabertine, retold notice. 7/14 business day window versus 2/1 day deadline. Visa dispute filed in parallel. Both resolved in Dean's favor. Process plausible throughout. Public climax clear and grounded. Sunday family dinner. Dean places fraud confirmation on the table in front of all 14. Kelsey and Frank's responses expose them fully in front of extended family witnesses. No yelling from Dean. The case number is the statement. Point of no return. Strong. Frank's phone call: you've always been like this, always making yourself the victim. Dean's reply: I'll see you Sunday. 3 words. No argument. No retreat. Devastating. Receipts planted and paid off. Plant spam emails, unauthorized contact change, beat 3.1. Plant $1,862.74 visa charge. Beat 4.2. Plant group chat screenshot don't tell him until after, beat 5.1. Payoff. All 4 receipts submitted to airline fraud debt. Beat 6.1. 6.2. Final payoff: phone placed on dinner table with case number, beat 8.3. Motif: iconic symbol with 3-point payoff. Mount Fuji drawing. 1. Pinned to fridge equals hope. 2. Nora sees it during silent breakfast equals wound. 3. Nora points to it when Japan trip is confirmed equals restoration. Minimum 3 hard mini cliffs at macro transitions. 1. Someone had changed my account email 7 weeks before the miles disappeared. Receipt drop. 2. Don't tell him until after. My father wrote that 10 weeks ago. Escalation 2. Deepest betrayal. 3. I'll see you Sunday. He had no idea what that meant. Public climax. Bonus. She just said, "Okay, Dad," and kept eating. That was worse than crying would have been. Villain strikes is greater than or equal to 2 before climax. VS1. Account accessed, miles drained, visa charged, then Dad's casual dinner announcement. VS2. Norris. Is it because of me? After being told the trip is postponed. 1-2 iconic lines easy to quote. My dad called it what family does for each other. I called it unauthorized activity. The airline agreed with me. She asked me if it was her fault. She was 10 years old. No twist too convenient. Read screenshot motivated. He's not on the trip, not fully complicit. Airline fraud outcome plausible process shown step by step. No deus ex machina. Family consequence. No Bali trip. Follows directly from the reversal, not from a dramatic gesture. Tone consistent throughout. Dean, flat, analytical, precise. 1 register the entire story. Frank, Linda. Breezy, tight, quiet. Kelsey. Entitled. Fast, hot. No speeches. No melodrama. Catharsis is procedural.